Okay, so I have been doing, this week was crazy with the reading. So yesterday I finished my Wattpad book that I am reviewing today. And then last night I was like halfway done with The Princess Bride and I hadn't had an opportunity to finish it, but I was so confident I was going to finish it. So last night I was like, okay, I'm going to read The Princess Bride. So last night I read the majority of The Princess Bride. My car was stuck in the shop, so I finished it this morning reading The Princess Bride in the lobby. It took me all that entire 3 hours I was sitting there, so I was really glad I brought my book. And then this morning I was reading my like I was reading a different Wattpad book when I'm reading for fun while I was at the gym because I sweat so much. I cannot read a paper book while I'm at the gym. I'm the sweatiest person alive. So I have been reading so freaking much just in the last like 24 hours. My brain is like crammed with like 10 billion words. By the way, the Wattpad book that I'm reading for fun right now is so freaking amazing. And I just read like the coolest part ever. My mind is blown. So if you guys are looking for a good Wattpad book, anybody watching, please read Children's Games by Rose underscore Marie. I forget. I don't know what her actual. Let me look up her name. It is so good. And it sucks because it's like normally I binge read stuff. And I remember I was reading her stuff as it was coming out. And I was so excited because I'm reading the sequel now. And I haven't had a chance to read it. I've just been reading so much other stuff. And it's so frustrating. Let me look it up. Children's Games. She's Australian, mate. And she's amazing. The books are amazing. Do 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 do. Well, when I look up children's game, it doesn't pop up. Hang on. Sorry to go off the rails. It's Rose underscore Marie underscore 96. Look it up. It's on my recommended reading on my Wattpad, but I'm reading the sequel right now. They're so good. Those books are really good. She's a good author. Anyways, I've just been reading a lot of different things today, and I'm really excited about the review today, and I'm really, really excited to talk about The Princess Bride, because that book is phenomenal. That is like the funniest book I think I've ever read. I like burst out laughing so many times. I'm so excited to watch the movie. I told my husband we're going to be watching it tonight when he gets home. So he's never seen the movie either. I've never seen the movie. This is my first time reading the book. The only thing I know, I was gonna have a collection of a bunch of memes today for The Princess Bride because there's like 10 bazillion. Anyways, I'm very excited about today's stream. I'm reading some good books. So, no, the memes. Yeah, I know there's so many memes. So I'll just share them on the Discord. Unfortunately, I won't be able to share them today because I'm, again, completely unprepared for today. All of my notes are still on my phone for the Wattpad review. It's a whole thing. But anyways, hello, for anybody who's watching who doesn't know me, I'm pretty sure every single person watching right now knows the spiel. I'm Missy. I love books and I love people and I love talking in general, but I love talking about books. And so that's what I will be doing today. I'm going to be doing a Wattpad review, and Wattpad is a website for amateur writers to post their books, so you can read amateur books for free. It's amazing. You get to comment and post and vote or comment, and yeah, it's great. It's a really, really great spot. I have read so many good books on Wattpad, ones that I would absolutely buy in a store. You know what I'm talking about. I would absolutely buy a lot of those books in a store if they were printed. Not all of it's great, but we're all amateurs. We're all learning. I am a huge, huge, huge reader. I am a very, very amateur writer. I don't know very much about writing, but I am starting to learn a little bit more. But anyways, I really, really, as a reader, am starting to appreciate what I'm reading more because of the very minimal experience I have now in writing. So I want to kind of That's what I'm doing here is I'm going to try and provide some constructive criticism, provide my thoughts as a reader, not as a critic or as an experienced writer at all. That is not what I am. If you were to read any of my writings, which I have taken down, you would know that I'm not talented, but I do know, I feel like I know a good story when I see one, and I know a good book when I see one, and I can at least tell you as a potential reader, tell the author that I'm reading their book, you know, as somebody who they're probably wanting to read their book, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work, and a breakdown and everything. Generally, what I like to do is go over kind of the first impressions of the book and if whether or not it's intriguing as with the summary and the title and the tags and everything like that. Go into character, plot breakdown, the plot, like what I liked about the story in general, the writing style, whatever thoughts pop into my head, that's what I'd like to go over. And then go over kind of areas for improvement if there are any. I don't like to give a review on something that, there's so many books out there that are just amazing and well beyond my skill level that I can't offer any criticism, but I always like to offer some type of feedback to help people improve. That's the whole point of everything. So anyways, without further ado, we can go over the, let's see here, go over who I'm going to be reviewing today. So once I post the first part episode, whatever the story I'm writing, I'd love to hear your thoughts, will be released weekly, no pressure. You have a big reading list. Yes, I do have a big reading list. I just realized my chat box not up. Yes, I do have a big reading list, but absolutely tell me. For Mango, I did I think there was okay, yeah. So for Mango's story, he only had like half of it written, and I was like, yeah, I'll read that, like the first half of that and give my thoughts. And then for Sevenfold Fate, which I feel like we talk about pretty much every time I come on, it was just like the first 3 to 5 chapters or something. So I feel like first impressions are so important to a book, because for me as a reader, you like, if I read like the first 2 chapters of the book and they're so good, it almost like doesn't matter what happens with the rest of the book, because I will definitely finish it. Because if I'm hooked from the beginning, I will need to know the ending. And I don't know if that's just like a compulsory thing because of my personality, like I need to know, type of thing. I have to go pick up lunch. Shout out Sevenfold Fate. Yeah, I know, seriously. Yeah, and she might watch these videos. She commented on one of my YouTube videos afterwards, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys talked about my book again." And I'm like, "Yeah, we did." Yes, we do talk about only the OGs know. But later, Mango. Anyways, so if you do want me to read, just as like do like a review on just the first impression and where you think you're like, okay, the reader should be hooked by now and should be interested in the story by now, or I need to know the first impression before I continue, let me know. I'd love to provide that. And that, reading the first chapter of a book takes like no time at all, or for first 5 chapters of the book, it's a different ask than asking me to read your entire novel, right? So I have self-imposed creative deadlines to force output for myself. It'll be released every Thursday. Gonna be interesting. Okay, well, I'll definitely check it out. Absolutely check it out. I do have a long reading list. I think that the next Wattpad book that I'm going to review next week is going to be, I think I have it picked out. And then the one after that, I think I also have picked out. But I don't tell anybody unless I'm absolutely sure. But definitely tag me in whatever. If you are not following me on Wattpad, you can. Or you don't have to follow me, but you can go to my profile and then go to my profile and put in the information that you want into the form on the Missy Reviews book. And that's how I will add it to my list of like my deck for what's up next. Speaking of Wattpad and Wattpad culture and following, this actually it came up because I was looking at the author that I'm going to be reviewing their book in a second. This actually came up because they specifically put on their profile, like, please don't do that thing where you follow me and then I follow you back and then you drop your follow. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, Wattpad has all these like weird culture things where it's like people will like follow you and then wait until you follow them back and then they'll unfollow you. So it looks like a bunch of people are following them, but they're not following anybody. And unless you have like a really, really popular book, I'm always very suspicious when people have that, where it's like they have a ton of followers and they're not following very many people, because people do that. And it's so sketchy and weird and it makes no sense. So I was like, I've seen that on a few people's profiles where they're like, please don't do that. That is so weird and annoying. And it's so like stupid. Yeah. Ew. It's like, what, like, you don't get like points for having people follow you, and you don't like get, you don't get like demerits for, following a bunch of people. I follow people if I'm interested in their book, or I follow people if I want to see their updates. Like, I feel like there's just certain things about the Wattpad culture that I'm not like crazy about. Like, oh, follow for follow. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, that's nothing. And then there's like, oh, read for reads. And it's like, okay, that's kind of like, read for reads is kind of cool. Like, I'll read your book, you read mine. That totally like fits within like, that makes sense to me. Like, if we're reading each other's book and offering feedback and stuff. Yes, exactly, Cherry. People will do anything to make themselves feel like they have clout. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. And people will be like, oh, vote for votes. And it's like, for the vote for vote thing, I'm like, no way. Like, I don't do that. And I also don't want people to read my book. Like, when I had my book posted, I don't want people to read my book just because I read theirs. And I don't want people to read my book because they feel like they owe me something. I want people to read my book because they're being entertained by it. Like, that's what makes me happy. I don't want somebody to read my book just as a favor. I mean, unless that's like a friend that I need advice from. Sorry, Cherry, constantly asking you to read different versions of the first chapter of my book. But yeah, I'm not crazy about that. The read for read, I get it, but I'm also like I'm not like crazy about it. I will only read a book if I want to read that book. If for some reason there's something about that book there's something about that's like intriguing to me. In fact, I'm only reviewing books that I'm like, I might like this, I get a lot of requests to review books that I'm like, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to like this book, not because of the writing, but because it's just not my type of book. It doesn't look good to me, or the writing style is so bad. Like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, nobody wants to waste their time doing that. But anyways, so there's the vote for votes. And then there's this other weird thing. And I remember it happened to me a couple of times where all of a sudden somebody had read my entire book and had voted on every single chapter, but it was like all at once. It was like, you can't have possibly sat there for, 5 hours straight and read my book, like, while I was sleeping, because I'll wake up and have 100 notifications. Oh, somebody voted on every single chapter of your book. And I realized that they do that trying to get you to read their book. It's like fishing. It's the weirdest thing ever. Wattpad has all these like weird things to it where it's like, can we just like be these cool people who want to write books and want to read other people's books and not be like so worried about the clout, like you said, Cherry, like not be so worried about getting being like the popular one. Or it's like a business scheme. It's just like, it's not sketchy because I understand, but they're like tactics. And it's like, this is cool art. Like, it's art. Why do we need to be so competitive? Why can't we just enjoy each other's art and be supportive and be real about it? Tacky. Yeah, tacky is a good way to put it. But when I see stuff like that, and this next author had specifically said, please don't do that. And it's like, I don't have that on mine, but it's like, it's probably because I don't follow people just because they followed me, I don't know. But Yeah, I hate that stuff. That stuff is super, super lame. So anybody out there watching who knows about Wattpad, and if this is a practice that you do and you're like, oh, I didn't know you weren't, that's not like appropriate behavior. It's like, it's perfectly Wattpad normal. It's not necessarily appropriate. Hey, Vane baby, how you doing? Happy to have you back. But anyways, Wattpad's great. It has some weird stuff, but I mean, from in my experience, I've been able to avoid anything weird. You just see stuff like that, and you're just like, can we just be kind and offer a read because we like reading instead of just always wanting something in return, you know? If for my reviews, I like to do the reviews and I don't ask for anything in return. You know, most review shops are like, oh, well, you have to read the first 50 chapters of my book and you have to vote on everything and you have to leave at least 3 comments on every chapter. And I see that, I'm like, wow, okay, I don't want to review that bad, you know? Like but then again, you know, if you have something where it's like people are doing competitive reviews too, you always want to thin out the herd. Do you really want to review? Do this really quick. I don't have any quests in order to get a review from me. So anybody out there interested in getting a review, just go ahead and drop a line and I'll check out your book and see if I want to review it. It's that easy. Anyways, that's my Wattpad spiel for my rant to start out. Love to start out negative. So great. But today I'm just going to get right into the Wattpad review of the day. Today I will be reviewing The Princess Who Leapt Through Time by Nebula Alchemist. And this is another short one, another short book. Nebula Alchemist, she provided a little bit of information on herself, which I always love that part, of my little form that I have. What she wanted to share about herself was that she is a nerdy new fantasy author, sometimes creating what if situations. And same. I'm a nerd who loves new fantasy. I love a lot of different genres, but fantasy is way, way, way at the top. Love that. Very, very cool. And as far as looking for specific feedback, she wants to figure out how to better improve her future works. So not necessarily feedback on this book in particular, but how to improve everything going forward. Now, I'm going to be providing feedback on this one in particular just because I don't know how else to do it. That's a review of the book. But I feel like there were some themes throughout the book that I feel like will apply to any future works if you maintain or if the author maintains that same exact thing. So without further ado, The Princess Who Leapt Through Time. Now, speaking of the Wattpad culture, this author has only been with Wattpad for 6 months. Their book has 4,000 reads and 1,000 votes. That's pretty impressive. They have 3 works out there. One is like that Ladybug cartoon, which I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. But it's like a fanfic or something, and then the other one is another like fantasy that she's serialing. The author is serialing right now, and then this one is a completed work, The Princess Who Leapt Through Time. So in this 6 months, this author has been very, very busy. The book is pretty short, 50 parts, very short chapters. It's about 4 hours. The Miraculous Ladybug, it's a kid's show, but it's really cute. I see a lot of stuff about it, so I'm guessing it's awesome to inspire so much. And then my daughter constantly wants to like get the books at the library whenever we go out. Like, oh, I want that one. It's the Ladybug Lady or whatever. So yes, I'm aware of its existence. I've never seen a show or anything like that. So I don't really know much about it other than we read a Valentine's Day themed book about the ladybug thing, the Miraculous Ladybug. So I don't know. Anyways, pretty short book, 4 hours, 10 minutes. I burned through it pretty quickly. I think that's a pretty accurate 4 hours, 10 minutes. It seems pretty right. The chapters are so short. So it's one of those ones where it's like really quick to read. which was nice. Now, this is the summary provided by the author. Okay. How long will you keep fighting, Anastasia Velt? It's been 100 lifetimes already. Even the god of time faltered, shaken by the unyielding resolve of the forgotten princess. I'll keep fighting, she answered, her eyes blazing with determination. He's my father. It's my duty to save him and to make him remember me. Bracing herself for yet another cycle, Anastasia expected to wake at the familiar age of 15, the point to which she had returned countless times before, but as her eyes opened, she found herself in an unfamiliar scene. This time, she was only a child, much younger than she had ever been in any previous timeline. A new beginning, a new mystery. Despite the unexpected shift, Anastasia's resolve remained unshaken. She would free her father, Duke Lucius, from the curse that bound him. This time, perhaps, the path to success would finally reveal itself. So that is the summary. The tags are anime, curse, death, dragon, duke, empire, fantasy, father-daughter, female lead, female main character, female protagonist, god, gods, high fantasy, historical fiction, illegitimate child, manhwa, which is manwha, which I forgot to look up, because I don't know what that means. Princess, regression, reincarnation, second chance, strong female lead, time travel, and villainess. So that's what we are, along with this cover that I have showing, that is how we are introduced to this book. So I thought it was pretty good. Hang on, let me read this. I tried watching it and I like the plot, but they have those super annoying, high-pitched, kid-friendly voices at decibels only dogs can understand, and I have to turn it off. Oh my gosh, I cannot stand that. Like, we're literally not allowed to watch that in the house. My daughter's not allowed to watch YouTube. We watch these things called the Daily Dose of Internet. Other than that, she's not allowed to watch YouTube because the YouTube Kids is so creepy. And I hate those like adults who talk like kids for kids shows. It's so weird. I do not like it. So sounds like I really would not like that show. Oh, I love Daily Dose. They're great. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's like this thing. So every time my husband turns on Daily Dose, he always is like, oh, I always forget because I turn it on the big TV and then the whole family just comes running into the living room. So it's like this really cute, like he like summons the family by turning it on just by that guy's like super stoic voice. And then at the end, he's always like, I'll see you again very, very soon. Later. And then my daughter's always like, very, very soon. Later. Like she always makes fun of him because that's kind of how we've always done it, is we've always said later or very, 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 very soon or whatever. Like I can't even say it that fast. But we always make fun of him. Make fun of him while absolutely adoring him and his videos. He's the bomb. It makes me so mad because I love the story of this show, but I cannot get past the voices. They have a great requited, unrequited love thing. Is that with the La Chat Noir or whatever? Because that was what the fan fiction was about. But that sounds very cute. Okay. So anyways, back to the princess who leapt through time. That was, that's like what you're provided with. So it is a time traveling princess who is kind of doing this Groundhog Day thing, but it's not just a single day. She's going back in time to do something, and she's always brought back at the age 15, except for this time where we step in. She is, and I'm going to spoil it for you, she's 5. So she's 5 years old, which is amazing because that's how old my daughter is. So it was fun to read this story knowing a 5-year-old girl and kind of what that would be. Of course, this 5-year-old girl has the mind of somebody who is, been going through this for 100 lifetimes. So I have no idea how much time, how old this person is in their mind, the main character, Anastasia. I have no idea how old they are, but they are in the body of a 5-year-old. So 5-year-olds are crazy cute. Got one myself. Anyways, so that's what we're provided. What? I have all of my notes on my phone. So they're not organized. So sorry, author, if you're watching this. This is not going to be the smoothest review, but I am going to try and do my best, knowing, because I just got home again like 5 minutes before the stream started, so I didn't get my time to normally like organize my thoughts like I normally do. Going to the bookstore for the daughter will lurk. I'm tossing these damn Beatrix Potter books. Blasphemy, apparently. Any quick recs, let me know. She's 15 months. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll have to send you a whole list. Get all of Roald Dahl. We just read Roald Dahl, all of the entire Roald Dahl series. They're amazing. They're so important. In fact, my daughter, after we read Matilda, my daughter was like, I'm going to be like Matilda. I want to be the smartest person ever. I got to start learning to read now. Like, she became so obsessed with Matilda, which was so fun. And then there's also this part in Willy Wonka, and which are both, these are all Roald Dahl books, and Willy Wonka, where the Oompa Loompas sing the song about Mike TV. And there's like this very passionate excerpt from the Oompa Loompas about how bad TV is. And she was like genuinely afraid to watch TV because she's like, it will rot my brain if I watch TV. And she was worried about my husband because my husband watches a lot of TV. I don't watch TV because I don't have time to. But he watches a lot of TV. And so she's like, I'm worried about dad. He watches too much TV. And I was like, go tell him that. Go tell him I was like, it's his relaxing time. You know, like, we all have our different ways to unwind. His is TV. And I was like, yours is listening to your audiobooks. Mine is reading, like, or doing chores around the house. Like, we all have our different things. Don't judge, but you can tell him that you're worried about him. Maybe he'll want to do something different. I don't know. But anyways, Roald Dahl is amazing. There's so many good collections out there as far as chapter books. And then there's a bunch of books for, we always like the Berenstain Bears. Those are great. Little bedtime books. Depends on what you're looking for. But I should probably just send you a list in the Discord because she has a huge library. And I even have some kids' books that I plan on reading to her. But 15 months is fun. I'm trying to think of what would be good. Oh, I have this really cool collection. Okay. Anyways, Discord. I'll send them to you. I'll send you links. But you're going to the bookstore now. These Potter books are nonsensical. Yeah, we're not at Harry Potter yet. My daughter's 5. I don't think she's ready for Harry Potter yet because there's a lot to the plot, and she also gets scared really easy. They go on forever and just have no point. You're wrong, but no, Beatrix Potter. Oh, I don't know what that is. Beatrix Potter. Yeah, I don't know. I would choose something that has animals in it. Kids love books that have animals or magic or something. Like, they want to think that they are magic. So, but she's 15 months. Peter Rabbit. We have that one. I haven't read it yet. Yeah. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of them. I'll send you a list. Back to The Princess Who Leapt Through Time. So you are provided with this summary. And so you, class has something to do with animals. Oh, Beatrix Potter did make Peter Rabbit? I don't know. I have to look that up. I'm sure we have some in our library because we seriously have so many, but we are time traveling, right? We're going back in time, kind of. We're reliving our lives. So I likened it to to Groundhog Day, where they're just reliving certain parts of their lives over and over again. And of course, in those situations, always you're trying to change something. You're trying to fix something. And the opening chapter of this book is so good. I was so excited when I read the first chapter. I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. The writing style is really cool. It's fun to read. It is visually, really stimulating. I really, really liked the first chapter because the first chapter, you're hooked. You're like, okay, so she's got to go back. She's trying to go back in time. The time god is like forcing her to go back in time to save her father, who apparently hates her or accuses her of poisoning her or something like that. Like, it's not clear what the deal is with her father and all of the history behind all of her past lives or the first life that she lived that got her stuck in this weird loop. And it almost reads like a sequel. And there's a lot about the book where it's like, this is supposed to be something that I'm aware of, but I'm not as the reader of this book for the first time. So there are certain things where I was like, I don't think that this is clear. But that first chapter is the bomb because you're like, oh, there's this exciting tale or this exciting plot where it's like this girl's going back in time and then this time's different. So that's where we're picking up, where the very first the way that you're introduced is like she's being sent back in time again, but this time she's only 5 years old and she's like, oh, this is different. Like she's getting hopeful because it's like, okay, why is this time different? Why did the time god send me back to being 5 years old instead of the normal 15 years old? I get to meet my father 10 years before I normally get to meet him, because that's the thing, is she like discovers she's this like duke's daughter, and that's kind of like where this picks up. So it's like the time god moved up the timeline a bit in this last bit, the part that we get to read. So that's where we're at. Very, very, very cool opening chapter. Hang on, I have my openings. Amazing intro. Absolutely love. And there's like an hourglass, which is very, very fun. And then Eris is the name of the god of time, which to me is interesting because Eris is the name of the god of discord and strife in Greek mythology. A very villainous god or goddess in Greek mythology, but Eris is a male god of time in this book. My initial thoughts after reading the first couple chapters, I was like, okay, I need way more on the main character. I need physical description. I haven't gotten that yet. I need, what motivates her, more about her personality, everything I needed more on the main character. I also needed way more on this mysterious curse. And I was like, they're probably waiting to talk about the curse because there's something cool about it. And they're like waiting to pick it up. So anyways, that's like the very introduction of the book is you are thrust back in time again. She's 5 years old. She gets to meet her. She's very excited about being able to meet her dad a lot earlier. Things are going to be different. She's going to go in with a plan. She's got all this knowledge. She's going to save him this time, and he's going to love her back this time. And it's like you're introduced very strongly, rooting for the main character. Rooting for the story. Obviously you're hoping that it's going to work out. That's like the idea, is that we're going to figure out why this time is different. What did she missed in the past 100 lives that she can't do it again or whatever. Like this is where you're introduced to the story. And I think it's very, very good opening. I was excited about it. And then another thing that I was excited about for the book was the writing is pretty good. So the author does a really good job of providing imagery. So I'm going to read one of my favorite quotes because I don't actually have like favorite quotes for later. So I'm going to read one now just to kind of give you a sense of the imagery, because this is going to come into play in a second. And you don't necessarily need to know what's happening here. I just want you to get a sense of the imagery. The carriage rattled to a stop in the dead of night, and I stared out at the towering walls of the Velt Capital Estate. The mansion loomed before me, massive and foreboding, its dark stone rising like a fortress. Tall iron gates stood guard at the entrance, and beyond them I could make out shadowy shapes of sprawling gardens, wild and overgrown. The mansion itself was immense, its windows reflecting the pale light of the moon, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. Ivy clung to the stone walls as if nature itself were trying to claim the estate, but it stood, unyielding, a symbol of the Velt family's power. I read that, and that's like in the first chapter or something, or the second chapter. I read that and I was like, this is going to be such a good book. Like, that is amazing imagery. That was like, you have your symbolism, it's just like such a clear picture. The writing's amazing. I, throughout this entire book, did not see a grammatical or spelling error or punctuation or anything like that. I was like, okay, this is great. Like, this is really, really good. And I loved reading stuff like this. They're very good. The author is very good at imagery, very good at describing the setting, very good at describing different foods, very good at describing clothing. Like, there's a lot of really good imagery. I would say that the best thing about this book is the imagery. And it's funny because, and I actually reached out to the author today and I was like, hey, just really quick, did you use AI to write this book? Because the imagery was amazing and it was kind of like a flawless book. However, and then the hint for me, for when something's written with ChatGPT or AI or whatever, like obviously that's the same thing, but if something's written with like ChatGPT, is that it is very beautifully written, but it's also incoherent. Now, I would not go so far as to say this book was incoherent, but there was what I just read to you, I would expect from like a veteran writer who, that's beautiful. I loved what I just read. I'm expecting the plot and the character development and all of the other aspects of writing to be kind of like at that level as well. Like, I'm expecting this to be a very good read when I read something like that, because that is excellent. What I just read is excellent. And they were like, no, I don't use AI to write my stories. And so I was like, okay, cool. So that I was worried for a minute that this was written with AI, because it is so beautifully written, but then the storytelling doesn't live up to the beautiful writing and imagery that is provided by the author. So I think that they just might have a little bit of imbalance of skills, where they are a very talented writer when it comes to descriptions, and then need to spend a little bit more time on the plot, the characters, and the actual like storytelling. And the reason that I say that is because the rest of the book was very confusing to me. And, I read a lot, and I read a lot of complicated things. I have a very wide range of interests. Not a lot of books confuse me. This book confused me going from scene to scene, from time to time, because this character is leaping through time. Well, not necessarily leaping through time. The setting is one single time, right? The one single time frame. It doesn't like go back and forth really. It's you're stuck when she's 5 years old, and then it follows as she grows older and all of that. But there's, she has memories from a different time. It cuts to scenes from a different time, from that the main character is not part of. It's very inconsistent, and very jerky. So I'm fine with, going back and forth in time, going like maybe her memories are hard to decipher because she has been, living 100 different lives. However, it's not, the foundation has not been set in this book. So that I can enjoy these moments where you're describing the, ivy clinging to the walls because and the beautiful symbolism that is in that, like I can't enjoy that because I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. The author didn't set the foundation of the story so that I can just kind of like ride along and enjoy it, or look for hints or anything like that. It was more just confusing throughout the story, and that is, it's really hard to describe. So there's a lot of jumping from like scene to scene, and there's not a lot of flow. And then there's even, so the book is written in first person narrative, and then will every once in a while like cut to a scene where it's not first person, it's third person. It's like omniscient, I just learned this phrase earlier this week, where it's the omniscient narrative, or narrator, where there's like somebody kind of like talking about the story instead of, you know, being the main character telling their story. And so it would cut to different scenes. And that was fine with me. Perfectly fine with me. They would always be in all italics, except for sometimes it wouldn't be in all italics. So it was like, okay, I can't tell if this is what I think it is. And then other times there would be dreams. She'd be having dreams. All the next scene would be a dream, and you wouldn't know it. And it wasn't like, oh, this is a dream, you got me. It was more like, what is going on? Why am I so confused right now? And it was because it wasn't a dream. Turns out it was a dream. She has a few dreams or visions or whatever. There's a lot that I feel like, and that's why I mentioned earlier, this book reads like a sequel. Like there's so much missing from her first life and her past lives that I didn't get to read, but the author knows. And so there's so much missing. The curse, like her father is cursed to like forget her or forget his kin. However, it almost seems like the author changed their mind about what the curse was a few times, or maybe it was just described wrong a few times. Then the curse passes on to her yes, it is sad. So this is, okay, let me back up a little bit. This is a very, very cool idea of a story. So this is a very, very cool idea. The author is clearly very talented. Should definitely, I would like to read like a second draft of this where the scenes are a little bit more organized. Because the whole thing was pretty confusing. And I got through it, and I feel like I understood, you know, what the author was trying to say, decent enough. It was more, I was wondering what was supposed to be a mystery and what just actually was never explained, that the author didn't realize they didn't explain it properly. That was my big thing, where I was like, should I be paying attention to these details, or or is this something that was just missed? Like that was difficult for me to get through this book. Because again, very beautifully written. The entire book is beautifully written. The details and the plot points, they all seem relevant too. It's not like, oh, they spent a lot of time cooking breakfast and, you know, cooking breakfast was not important later in the plot. No, like everything that happens is relevant to the plot, which is for the main character, Anastasia, to save her father from the curse, which again, the curse is not, in my estimation, not appropriately discussed, and it is revealed, like if you piece together everything from the book, you can kind of like get the gist of what the curse is. However, there's like a scene where it's like, no, the curse is like putting her in pain, and then there's like another guy, the villain, who's not introduced until like the very last 2 or 3 chapters, who's like, no, I want that curse. And it's like, wait, you want the curse? Like, are you confused? And then so I was confused, and the whole thing, again, it was just confusing. And I think that it was a very, very cool story. I think it just needed to be organized a little bit better. And then also, there was not a lot of character work at all. There was the characters were second to the descriptors. The characters were second to like the plot. The characters were second to everything. I got very little from the characters. Like, I didn't know very much about the main character and what drove her and what made her special, or, you know, her desires, or who she was as a person, or, you know, how she was feeling about things. I didn't get a lot of that. She wanted a relationship with her father, and she was always happy to get his attention and curious as to why he was being nicer to her this time around. So there was that. I really could have used a lot more on Anastasia and kind of who she was as a person. I thought that the character Lucius, who is her dad, I thought that he was very well done, because you're looking at him through the eyes of Anastasia, and he's very, I was picturing Tywin Lannister the entire time. So he's like this cold war duke, intelligent, brutal, intimidating to everybody, very cold in demeanor, very blunt, difficult. You know, like if you're that person's daughter, you know that's going to be difficult. So there was that. I liked the way that he's done. Eris, the god of time, is actually a character seen frequently throughout the book. He puts himself back as a little boy. And I remember the first time I read that, I was like, oh, that's so cool that Eris put himself back, or put himself into this world as a little boy as well. Like the same age as the main character. But I didn't get much on what drives him either, or what his personality was like. And he was like supposedly like the best friend. I could have definitely used a lot more character work. That's for sure. And then definitely provided more information, like vital information on what do I need to know in this chapter? What do I need to know by chapter 30? What is the reader supposed to know? Make sure that that's explained. What am I supposed to know by the time the villain is introduced? Because there's not a lot of foreshadowing or introduction to the main villain, who is the Duke's older brother. There's some times where certain things were repeated a lot as well. Where I'm like, okay, I thought I just read, this is not like new information, but they're talking about it like it's new information. Like I just read this in the last chapter. So anyways, that's why I thought it was written by artificial intelligence. So, because it was like beautifully written, no spelling or grammatical errors, but it was so confusing. Like it was, again, it just seemed a little bit off. Cause the skill level of the actual writing, like was great. Like I just read to you. I have another quote actually where I that I saved. The landscape unfolded into a tapestry of rolling hills and glistening rivers, framed by the distant silhouette of majestic mountains that rose proudly against the clear blue sky. Lush green fields stretched out like a vibrant carpet, dotted with white flowers dancing in the gentle breeze. The sun bathed everything in a warm golden light, illuminating the beauty of the north that had once felt like a distant memory. So you're reading that, and then meanwhile, very important details I feel like are not made clear, you know, like what is the curse? Who is Anastasia? Why didn't her dad find her earlier? Why, like there's a lot, legitimately great feedback. I talked it yesterday, but you have seen the research done into specific word usage for AI. It was delve was one of the big words. Oh, was it? Yeah, so I don't know. I thought, again, the writing was beautiful, but the structure wasn't there in this book. So it's really hard to provide a review on it, honestly, because there was so much that I liked about it. Hi, welcome back, Mango. I'm so sorry if the author is watching this. I don't know how to provide really great feedback on this. I will absolutely read that. Thank you, Textual. I'm not sure how to provide a good review on it. Obviously, on top of being disorganized, I was confused by the book. And I'm sorry I'm not as prepared for I'm sorry I'm not as prepared for this review as I have been for past reviews. But there was a lot. There was a lot of things where I'm like, okay, is this important or is it not? Or is it just like a skill issue? It's just completely unnatural jumping from scene to scene, the inconsistency among characters, and I have a 5-year-old, and there were parts where the main character, who is supposed to be a 5-year-old, again, with the mind of a much older, mature person, there were scenes where she was talking like a baby. And if my daughter would talk like that, I would like a 2 or 3-year-old might talk. I would say, knock it off. That's not cute. Talk like, talk like you've been educated before, like that's my daughter's not allowed to talk like she's a little tiny baby unless she's playing around, speech to text, blame my phone for nonsense. So far, this sounds like great feedback regardless. Okay. Thank you. So there was some of that. I wanted way more background on the characters, on the curse, on what happened in her past lives. I was thinking that we were going to get it at some point and it was all going to like connect. But that never really happened. There was a lot of that. Again, there was like inconsistency regarding her age. Like she was acting like a full grown adult at 5 years old and nobody said anything. And then there were times where she was acting like a baby, pretending to be a 5-year-old, and everybody thought it was so cute. And so I was like, okay, so what is she trying to act like? And it would be really creepy if my 5-year-old started talking to me like she was ancient. And it would be also really creepy if she jumped from acting like she was ancient to being like a little baby again. But that was just, again, that's probably me being nitpicky on that one. And it's because I have like an example right in front of me. I actually, speaking of, my 5-year-old absolutely loved the cover of this book because when I had it up, she's like, oh, tell me about the princess. I was like, oh, this is a princess. She's a time traveling princess. And she was like, oh, tell me about her. And I was like, well, I can't because there's nothing to tell. I told her name and another thing that was really cute about this was that the main plot was that she wanted to be close to her dad, and so it's like kind of like a father-daughter story, but there was no emotion attached to it. There wasn't enough emotion. There was some emotion, but there wasn't enough emotion attached to it. Like that, this could be like an amazing, like heart-wrenching story about a father or a like father-daughter relationship. Like that's beautiful. I would love to read something like that. And it was a little bit like that. So it was cute and everything, but I could have definitely used more of that. So I can actually buy into the characters. One thing that is really, really cool that the author did was there was some really cool magic in this book, like magic. There was like curses and like magical objects and dragons and, old stories. Like it had there's a lot to work with here. That was really cool. There was like a magic teapot that could like pour whatever drink you wanted, like just based off of what you wanted. There was like a gluttony plate where it was like basically whatever you could think of to eat, would just appear on the plate. And these were just like gifts given to her, like no big deal. Anyways, very, very cool. Very cool idea. Very cool themes throughout the book. I would like Powerade tea from the magic teapot, light ice, please. I drink so much tea. So today I haven't had any. I've just been at the body shop or the why can't I think of the word? It's not mechanic. I was at the Honda store. I was at Honda all morning. And I was not prepared to be at Honda. I was expecting to go drop off my car, get a ride back to my house, and then spend the day at my house and then do whatever to get my car back later. I did not do that, and I did not eat anything. So the only thing that I'm having is my protein tea and some tortilla chips. That is what I'm eating. I could really use a gluttony plate right now. and a magic teapot. But I do have my tea. And I would seriously just drink this all the time. Or I would just gain like 10 billion pounds constantly eating it. Protein. Jeez Louise, Mango. You are such a treasure. Yes. Protein. Anyways, lots of cool magic. The dragon's cool. The idea that there's a dragon in it, that is vital. Like, again, everything's important to the plot. The friendships that she makes are important to the plot. Everything is, and it's really cool. But it just isn't it isn't structured well. It isn't combined well. You have like all these fun ingredients, but they're not put together well. So that's all I really have to say about this. Unfortunately, my, 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 my feedback's not great. I do have a lot of like random notes. Amelia, does she have green eyes or blue? Because that changes. And it's relevant because the author writes it every single time. If they keep calling her illegitimate, but her parents were married when they had her, so. She's not illegitimate, or is that just a secret? Is the marriage that they had a secret? So maybe that's the issue. The author does a really good job of reminding you who the characters are when they're kind of reintroduced a few chapters later. She either provides a last name or reminds us of their title. That was incredible. I really, really liked that. I have a note here. Need way more background on what the curse is. Why is she to blame? Why is she still going back in time? What happened in her past lives? Again, I guess kept writing that over and over again. Like, what's happening here? Like, why do I care about this? And also who is this person as a person? Who is Anastasia as a person? I want to know that. That's what I want to know. And I want to know what, like, if you're going to be skipping all the way through her past 100 lives and skipping to this one, I still am going to need background on that and why the main character thinks she's still having to go back in time. Is this going back in time the curse? It is described later that the curse is just the dad forgets their kin. So that's the curse. Why didn't he forget her this last time? Like, there's so many questions. I have way more questions than I have answers. This is just a terrible review. I wish I would have had time to organize my thoughts better. But anyways, that's my stuff. That's what I have to say. And also the other characters that are supposedly 5 or 6 or whatever do not act like 5 or 6-year-olds. They act like at least young women. So I'm all over the place. I would have liked a physical description of the main character earlier on, and a lot more background and a lot more who is this. And that's why the whole time I was like, I'm pretty sure I skimmed some of the first couple of chapters and it kind of reads like they use one of those grammar programs to fix any errors. Yeah, but I feel like it's more than that. Like, it's more than just the grammar. But yeah, because they it is like I just read to you. It's beautifully written. I love the way it worked. In fact, I have another quote that I really liked, and it's when they're in the middle of a battle, and it says, "The monsters drop to the floor, their massive bodies collapsing like puppets with severed strings." And I remember, I was like thinking, like, that's such a cool way to say that. Like puppets with severed strings, that's creative. That's well written. I can understand that. It's all great. It's all great on its own. It's not put together the way that made it easy for me to read. This author is clearly very talented. I really liked a lot of what I read. It just was so confusing because I feel like there was because of the plot, there wasn't a lot that I had. And then the characters, I didn't get a lot of character development, a lot of character work. Ooh, I swear I've heard that somewhere before. Oh, have you? I sounded a little bit familiar. Yeah, the puppets. It sounded familiar to me too, but I was like, that happens obviously where you read something and you're like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm gonna put it in my book. Or I read something similar. I've done it a million times. I've seen people do it a million times. Like, it just happens. But I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of really cool things in this book. I think that the author is talented. Whatever they're doing for their grammar and spelling, whether it is education or a program, is working really well. I was just so curious if it was greatly assisted by AI, by like enhancing certain descriptions or something, just because the imagery is so, like, the level of the imagery I feel like is so much higher than the level of the storytelling, because it is really well written. It's just not well put together. And then again, I really wanted more on the characters, character development, what motivates them, what drives them, what are their false beliefs. Like, there's a lot that's missing that I didn't get from the character. I would have liked a lot more. Who are they? That's what I want to know. Why am I spending 4 hours of my life in this person's shoes? Do I like being in these person's shoes? Are they making me feel things? This book did not make me feel anything. But it was there was a lot of beautiful lines for sure. So anyways, that's my review. Oh, apparently super popular line, fan fiction, Googling an exact match brings up hundreds of results. Okay, well then they found a good line and they used it. Yeah. That I think I would like to hear what the author would have to say about the structure of the book, and I would honestly like to know how they were educated, or if this is writing's just a hobby that they've had for a really long time. I don't know, but anyways, that's my review on The Princess Who Leapt Through Time. Probably my least organized review, but the bullet points are great idea, great imagery, very cool concepts woven throughout the book. Very, very cool idea. But then again, it just needs it needs some organization. Some thought needs to go into the characters, and then some thought needs to go into what the reader should know. So I think the author is just like, I know this, and then the reader needs to know it. And yes, Nebula Alchemist, thank you for submitting your work for a review. Thank you for writing, and I really hope that you keep writing. And I mean, obviously you are still writing. I really hope that to see more from you, and I would love to read more of your stuff. So yeah, thank you again. Thanks, Mango. But yeah, those are my bullet points. Great idea. You are obviously very, very talented, and I would like to get more, really. So now moving on from my Wattpad review and going into The Princess Bride, which is the book that I just finished right before I start this morning. I finished it this morning, and it is so good. It is so good, and also a little bit confusing because hang on.